another wonderful WrestleRoni for me and for you. We're big time today. I'm so excited to welcome April Hunter to the show. How are we feeling?
We're feeling good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I am so happy to have you. This is courtesy of our sponsor, Kill City Cup. We might as well jump right into that. What a film. What can you tell me about making this movie?
Oh my God. It was so fun. And I didn't, honestly, I didn't know what it was going to look like until it was done. And I was actually very, very surprised. I'm a big fan of comics. I appreciate video games. So to me, it was like wrestling plus comics plus a video game all kind of rolled into one. I was like, wow, that's different. That is a different product right there. So yeah, I thought it was very, very awesome just awesome.
Yeah, and it's a different take. It's a film about wrestling. I love it. You've popped up in a lot of films, so much stuff over the years, an amazing body of work. I appreciate everything.
I thought you were going to stop an amazing body. I was going to be like, oh, I try. Thank you. I'm in the gym,
God bless you there, too. God bless. I knew what I was doing. I thought that a half hour ago.
You're good.
Thank you. But yeah, Kill City Cup, amazing work in that. That was so fun. Let's hop back. You get hired. Your introduction to the wrestling business, tell me if I'm wrong, is WCW with the NWO?
Yeah. Yeah, basically. So I was doing fitness competitions at the time, and I was approached by Playboy. They were doing a special edition newsstand issue, women in fitness. So it was a newsstand, Playboy's Hard Bodies. So I did that issue, and Kimberly Page was in it with DDP in a little section, and WCW saw me in it and recruited me. So that's how I ended up getting into WCW.
And you jumped in, the water's hot when you jumped in WCW. You're with the NWO. What can you tell me about just coming through the curtain with the NWO?
Well, first off, I wasn't a wrestling fan, so I had no idea what was going on. I didn't really know who anybody was. I mean, I think that actually worked to my advantage because I didn't have like stars in my eyes. I didn't to me, I was so used to doing other things too and working with, like Ronnie Coleman and big names, Mr. Olympias and big names on other avenues that it probably wouldn't have mattered to me anyway, but I didn't know who anyone was. So it wasn't like I was starstruck or honestly, like I gave a shit. I was just like, I'm here. Where do you want me to be? What do you want me to do? Very nice to meet you, sir. How can what would you like for me? Where do you want me to be? So it was like that. But the guys, honestly, I thought the ones they put me with, which, we all know them as the NWO, I thought they were fantastic. I'm still friends with a lot of them today. We get along. We run into each other. And I know their reputation precedes them. And there's a lot of legend and folklore. And I'm sure some of them have done things to live up to it. But when you know them on a personal level, they're not exactly how they seem. They're actually very, very human, very decent, very, they always treated me with respect. They were good to me. So I can't complain.
Heck yeah, good. I'm glad to hear some good stuff about, the NWO and some of those guys. I appreciate that more than you know. So you had to have fallen in love with wrestling at some point or you wouldn't have stuck around. When do you think that happened?
Oh, that's a good question. I always joke around and say wrestling's sort of like an abusive relationship. You can never get away.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I will find you. And it's funny too because I went back to school. I went to Full Sail University for my degree in writing and for entertainment. And I was like, I'm going to write for HBO. I'm going to write for Showtime, Netflix. That's what I'm going to do. The very first job offer I got out of Full Sail. We have this opening at NXT. They're looking for a writer. I'm like, no.
Oh wow.
no. This isn't no. We're trying to do something new here. All right. No, we're not doing anything new. We're still doing this. Yeah. So when did I fall in love with wrestling exactly? Do you know? It had to have been when I got in the ring at Killer Kowalski's.
Yeah.
because I don't think I had a real appreciation for what people did until I tried it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized the athleticism involved. And it really was like, it was like when you get out of there, what you feel like is you went through the worst CrossFit workout of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately following that, you were in a car accident where somebody like rammed you from behind, and you just, that's the way you hurt. You hurt both, every muscle hurts, and like a car crash hurt. And
Uh,
that's how I felt for about a year straight. And you still feel that way, but you kind of get used to it to a degree.
wow. God
But
bless you.
yeah, somewhere in there is when I started to kind of fall in love with it. When I actually started to grasp the footing, and I could put my own twist on things and do my own stuff and kind of incorporate a little razzle dazzle or some of the lucha moves or some gymnastics or things, some of my kicks, and because I was a martial artist before, and do some of that in there. So yeah, I was like, yeah, this is fun.
Heck yeah, good, cool.
I
So,
get to, I can dress up and kick people in the head for a living. So
so was that your decision to start training, or is that something somebody recommended? How did that come about?
it was Terry Taylor actually,
Okay.
and Jim Ross. So I was in WCW, and they had me on a per show. It was not a contract; it was on a per show hiring.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to leave because they weren't doing anything with me. But at the same time, I was getting all these offers from Iron Man magazine and Muscle Mag and all these other things, and I wasn't able to do the shoots in LA because I lived on the West Coast and in Vegas. I wasn't able to go out and do any of the shoots
Mm-hmm.
that I was missing out on because I was on the road, with Nitro and everything, and yet Nitro wasn't using me at all half the time. I
Right.
was there, I was just sitting in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked, basically to be let go. And Terry called Jim Ross, and he said, "Hey, we have this girl here. There aren't any redheads in wrestling. She's actually really athletic and tall. She's not in her contract. You guys should really take a look at her."
Uh-huh.
So WWE was in LA that year for WrestleMania, and they brought me over, and I met the writers the next day. And then they said, "We're going to send you to Killer Kowalski's in Boston."
Mm.
And that's what happened.
Really? That's
Mhm.
so that's interesting. So Terry Taylor at WCW at that time calls Jim Ross at WWE at that time, and they
Mhm.
pretty much arranged for you. That's cool stuff.
I know, it's a very unconventional situation. It was like under the radar kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
that's so dope. So I mean, and you kept at it. You Shine. I'm a huge fan of Shine. What can you tell me about working some of those shows and some of those crazy matches?
Oh, they were fun. It was a long day. We would get there, early or stay late. I was managing that whole entire stable. It started Maiden Sin and then Valkyrie.
Hmm.
It was a lot of fun. But if you ever watched any of those shows where I was involved, I managed this gigantic stable. So I was in, out, in, out, in, out all through the show, starting it all the way to the end. So it was a lot of work, but it was fun, and I got to work with a lot of the girls, and that was part of the reason they brought me in, was to work with the younger girls and help them along.
Hmm.
So beforehand, I remember going over things with girls, everything from psychology to, this would make more sense doing this here, to, hey, I know you wrestle like a guy, but you need to walk like a woman.
Right, right.
Because sexuality, in entertainment matters, and a lot of girls come in and they want to go right in and be like a guy. It's like, okay, throw a forearm like a guy, but walk like a woman.
Right
So we would have
on.
we would have these kind of lessons, yeah. So
Hell
mhm.
yeah. Hell, and speaking of sexuality, women's extreme wrestling. That was so outside the box. I love it. I'll give it props all day. What can you tell me about working some WEW shows?
If I had known that would be on like three different channels in perpetuity forever, I would have
Right.
tried a little harder. So the people who owned it, Dan Cowell, would bring us in, and they were so freaking cheap. Okay, so they would film 2 and 3 shows on one night and pay us for one show.
Oh.
And and half the time we were up against dancers or strippers, which is fine. You know, it's half wrestler, half stripper. We knew what they were going for. They wanted a nice mix of TNA and wrestling.
For sure.
And but the problem is a lot of the girls were not well trained, or when you have that many matches on, it's like there's not a lot of time when you come back from one match before you're into another match to discuss what are we doing, how is it going to go, let's do this finish. A lot of times you're just like, oh shit, we'll go out in the ring and do the best we can, and that's fine. But sometimes you're not, like, a lot of times I was forced to be in the position of being a veteran at only 3 to 5 years in, because I'm working with girls that are like 1.5 years in. So you've got two green people in the ring that, you know, are not having the best match ever, shall we say. So it's not some of my best work.
It's fun stuff. You don't watch it for the wrestling.
It's absolutely fun. Yeah.
Props all day. It was like ECW women's wrestling. I loved it. I'll still get, and it's on YouTube. Look it up. It's so
sloppy with lots of cleavage. You can't go wrong.
There you go. And you mentioned TNA. You give me perfect segues. You's even in TNA. I want my audience to know you've been everywhere. You've done it all. So we got to cover a little bit of everything. What can you tell me about working for TNA Impact Wrestling?
Well, let's see. I was their very first female wrestler ever. They were adamantly against having any women wrestling.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, they never had a girl in the ring other than ringside. Then they decided to do this thing with Alan Funk, where he was, he had the Miss TNA championship. Mm-hmm. And he dressed like a woman, and that would be so popular now. he was ahead of, TNA was ahead of their time. So they decided to bring in an actual female wrestler to wrestle him, and that would be me. So this was in Tennessee at the time when they were doing those the pay-per-views every week. Mm-hmm. So they brought me in. He gave me a run for the money. Unfortunately, you know, I gave him a run for the money right back. I did not win. He retained his title, but I think I ended up doing another couple of matches after that in various places. I remember working with Eric Watts, and then working Desiree, Sonny Siaki's girlfriend, and then, which was a very bad match because she had just started training. Oh. But she was also very favored by the company at the time. Mm. So they really wanted her to look good. And that's hard without much training. Mm-hmm. So, and they, you know, TNA is great. I will give them credit where it's due. They will get behind the things WWE would not.
Right.
They would cruiserweights and women. Mm-hmm. They were doing that long before anybody else was, and they were doing it the right way. And it was funny to me to see a thing where WWE advertised a woman's pay-per-view. They're like, "Oh, women headlining. It's never been done before." I'm like, "Yeah, it has."
Yeah, come on now.
I'm like, TNA's been doing it for a while. Like, don't insult the fans. But TNA also would try and push us, and I don't know if this happens across the board everywhere, but I have never seen it. Mm-hmm. They would try and push you to do moves you were unfamiliar with, or were not comfortable with, or were rather dangerous. Yeah. And people would get hurt. Mm. And so I was back down there for the New Year's Eve special. Mm-hmm. And we had multiple matches that night, all of us. And I remember seeing Nikki Rocks have her ankle shattered off of that exact thing. And what happened during the match with Desire and I was that exact situation. They wanted her to give me a Hurricane Rana off the top rope, mm-hmm. which I'd taken many times. I knew how to take it. I'm a bigger girl, right? At the time, I've had some spinal compression since then, but at that time, I'm 5'9", 160 pounds, and you know, I'm still fine to take these things off the top rope. Mm-hmm. I know how to do them. but I don't think she had ever given one. So you have a girl climbing up to the very top rope, which quite honestly, if you have not climbed up to the top rope
Oh,
and looked down, it's scary.
for sure.
And then you want someone to jump and trust and wrap their legs around someone's head and trust that this stranger who you just met 4 hours ago is going to catch you,
Mm,
hold on to you, and go with it and not drop you on your head. So that is a fucking trust fall right there.
yeah.
And I don't think she'd ever done it before. And I think it took her 3 times. It was botched in that match. And people were unrelentingly cruel.
Really?
Like they can be when they have never done these things.
Wow. And you're not the first one to say something like that, so that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is. And they actually offered me a contract after that New Year's Eve special. And the contract was so low. I mean, like it was $300 a match, and they also wanted to like own your name. And if you remember back then, where if you worked anywhere else, they wanted, I think it was 10 or 20% of whatever you made.
Okay.
I was working everywhere at that point. I was working in Mexico and Japan and Germany and in Scotland and in Canada, and all of a sudden now all these connections and all these places I worked that I did on my own. These are all my bookings. Now they wanted 10 or 20% of all the money that I earned. I'm like $300, and they wanted me to get cleared, excuse me, by a doctor
Mm-hmm.
on my own dime to work. And I was just like, I would really like to do it. I would love to be on TV, but I'm gonna pass.
Really?
Yeah.
Good
I mean,
on you.
I mean, $300 to risk your fucking neck,
Right.
and then you have to give them everything else you make.
Yeah.
And then all I could think of is, and that's just, this might be me, and it could very well be me, but all I could think of is I might just end up in the same spot I was in with WCW, where they actually paid me more. It was $500 a show way back in 1999, 2000.
Right.
All I could do is I might end up in the dressing room, them not paying me anything, and then they still want money from anything else I hustle.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing about you. I'm glad you said that. Another segue. You hustle. You are out there. You're doing. Tell the folks some of the other stuff you've done outside of wrestling. I mean, film. Just so the
Oh my
audience
gosh.
knows here.
Let's
yeah.
see. Here, it'd be easier to show a little bit. Let's see.
Have at it.
No, leave that. I've got dogs. I write children's books, so I have a children's book.
How
It's
cool.
it's on everything from Amazon to Walmart. So,
Nice.
yeah, it's fun. It's based on The Ugly Duckling. So, it's called Monty, A Tale of No Tail. It's very fun.
I love it.
I do some small obscure movies. I am a candle and soap maker, so I do organic soy candles and artisan
Ooh.
soaps. Yeah, they're fun. It's just my creative outlet. I have a podcast, The A Show with April
Okay.
Hunter. Yeah, that's every week on Wednesday nights on twitch.tv/The A Show. It's also on Rumble. And as you can probably guess by it being on Rumble, we talk about some really real shit.
Uh,
We also talk about a lot of esoteric things, fun history that no one's ever heard of, good news stories, mental health things you can do for your mental health, and a little bit of this and that. It's kind of a variety show, but that's a little sampling of things that I do. So yeah, there's life after wrestling.
good on you. Heck yeah. What made you decide it's enough with wrestling? Was it your body, or was just enough was enough?
It's funny, if you stay out of the ring
Mm-hmm.
and you have every intention to heal, and you give yourself every option to heal, like you go through yoga and chiropractor and you do what you're supposed to, the rehab,
Mm-hmm.
you will heal. You can get better.
Okay.
What I got tired of, and I'm also very grateful for, was the politics.
Okay.
The politics and the hurry up and wait and the games and having. I just got tired of all that. It just wasn't worth the 3 to 8 minutes in the ring
Got you.
for I just got it. Just it just became not fun anymore, I guess. And I'm not the kind of person who can grind away at things if they're not fulfilling. I
Right.
need I need fulfillment. I can't stand a relationship that sucks. I can't work a job that's menial. I can't deal with really anything that's mean. Like, that's not me.
Good on you. You seem happy. Are you happy?
I am.
Good. That's what
Yeah,
it's
I
all about. Heck
am.
yeah. And I was looking at your cage match. One hell of a career. My goodness. You
Thank
did
you.
your thing. You're welcome. I know
Thank
I've
you.
kept you past what I asked for, so thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to put out there as far as socials? Anything else you're hustling? Anything you want to put out there? Go for it.
Oh, hell yeah, sure. I'll always take an opportunity for a prompt. So
Have at it.
why not? So you can find me on Twitter, April Hunter or Real April Hunter. I'm on, if you want to see what I look like, I'm on Instagram. If you're listening and not looking, I'm on Instagram, Real April Hunter. I'm on aprilhunter.com for my own website, Patreon, April Hunter. Don't get excited. It's not that naughty. I have a page on OnlyFans. It's April Hunter. When lockdowns happened and we lost all our bookings, I went over there with all my wrestling and my cosplay stuff because I'm a professional cosplayer also.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm one of the, you know, the physique and cosplay models there that, um, people are always asking about the adult stuff, and it's like, yeah, I'm just not really adult enough for this site, but I like the customers on there that are nice, so I keep my page up.
You're doing awesome. You've been doing awesome for years. I can't give you enough props and respect. I thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
and this is thanks to Kill City Cup. Awesome work on that. Go
Yes.
check it out. Link in
Yeah,
the description.
I hope they do another one because that was such a fun show. It really was, and it was fun watching Ms. Markova kick some ass there.
Oh, such a fun film. If you haven't
Yeah.
watched it yet, please watch it. And,
Oh, yeah, you can watch that on YouTube. You guys should look that up, Kill City Cup on YouTube. It
oh,
is worth what is it, 55 minutes of it. Just sit there, grab your popcorn, and watch that show.
just constant insanity. Never a dull moment, I
Mm-hmm.
promise you.
Mm-hmm.
Heck
It's
yeah.
different. It's
I
very different.
I thank you. I'll ask you to hang on the line for just a moment to the
Okay.
listeners. We love you. This is why we do it, man. April Hunter, look at us.
Thank you. Mwah.
Be kind to each other. Treat each other with love and respect. Go live your dreams. And this Saturday, actually, RSW in Morgantown. Get down there. We love you. We're out.
Welcome to the Kill City Cup. I got the world by the